Today, our intention is to connect with the pet collectives that come to be our friends, our allies in this earth, to love us and to understand their purpose and any messages they want to bring forth. So, Ceirra, as you're there now, are you feeling anything or seeing anything around you?
Yeah, it just feels like I'm in a really peaceful meadow. I feel the higher self of the dog that I had growing up,
What was your dog's name?
Simon.
Does Simon have another name, or is it okay that we refer to him as Simon?
I refer to him now as Rue because he's actually one of my main spirit guides now as a white tiger. But growing up, he was in my life as my dog Simon, as a Yorkie.
How could he be such a big, bold spirit guide and then come as a Yorkie? Like when they choose their bodies, why do they choose that?
Oh, he had a big personality.
That's so cool. How does it feel to be connected to him again?
It feels good. For the things that my parents put him through when I was growing up, it makes sense that he is a white tiger because my parents definitely did not understand how to raise an animal. And so even though I loved him dearly, I was still too young to fully like care for him the way that he should have been cared for. So I feel like if he was my pet now, things would be a lot different. But um yeah, he definitely needed a big personality to be raised by my parents.
Does he have any messages as he's coming through before we ask some questions?
He's just saying he was with me when I was younger so that I felt safe with him. I felt protected. Those days, high school was really hard for me because I was so emotional and just didn't understand my emotions. And so they're showing me how like those times where I was just crying my eyes out, had no one to go to, my dog was always there with me. Like he was always there to go through the hardest times with me and to make me feel loved and safe.
Now, was it a contract for him to come and be in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. And I still see him in my dreams all the time. And in my dreams, he always reminds me to feel safe and that there's nothing to worry about.
When they come into this earth, are they higher vibration than us?
There are they're saying it depends. So we can raise our vibration to their vibration, but usually, yes. Especially if we're living out of survival, then yes, most of our pets are a higher vibration than we are.
Now, how are dogs so happy? Like, are they just in presence all the time, or what makes them so happy?
Yeah, they just live in the present moment. And so they are able to truly value the connection that they have with us, to value the experience that they have. A lot of animals have decided to incarnate, or a lot of our soul family and star seeds decide to incarnate as pets because it's easier for them to be here right now than to be as a human. So it's a way for them to like ground this frequency and come here and be with us, but not have to go through the human experience.
Now, what about those animals that choose the life contract of being in shelters and being euthanized? What is the purpose for them being here?
Some are holding the frequency for a shorter amount of time. And then they also know that these things, it's all here to play out, to teach a lesson that all life is sacred and that like they're showing me specifically the dogs being euthanized in Europe. That is to teach us that all life is sacred and that it's really how It's like the nature versus nurture. So if we are showing them love, then these animals are all a projection of human consciousness. So no matter the animal breed, if we raise them in love and compassion, then that's how these animals will act. But if we raise them to fight each other, to be aggressive, we abuse them, then that is what they are going to mirror in this reality. And so they are coming here to teach us how to be more compassionate, to be more loving, and to see that everything is sacred.
Well, we thank them for their loving life contracts that they've signed up for, even though it can appear like a grim sentence of a life that they signed up for. We just really appreciate them. And um, one question, and I'm just going to change the energy a little bit. When your dog is sleeping and they appear to be running and leaping in their sleep, where are the dogs going?
They're showing me that dogs dream just like humans do. So dogs are still in their own thought forms when they're dreaming. So it's the exact same thing where they might go into a parallel reality where they're running around and playing with other dogs. Or maybe it's just like a some kind of thought form that they've created for themselves. But they're showing me that they dream just like humans do.
It's always very interesting to watch. Are they what you are like? Do they astral travel?
Yes, yeah, animals can astral travel, especially cats. So cats are so special because they can see through dimensions, they can astral travel, and they are very spiritual beings.
Now, if you were to connect the energy of humanity's collective with the energy of another animal, like what animal species is most like us?
Consciousness wise, they said dolphins.
Interesting.
A lot of high frequency beings are here as dolphins at this time holding a frequency. And that's why dolphins are always so playful and fun, is because they are of a very high frequency.
I feel like dolphins are way more evolved than we are.
Yeah.
So, it's an honor to be on the same level as them. Although other human beings probably think we're more evolved, but not I.
Yeah. Well, they're showing me the dichotomy, right? So the dolphins represent almost like our higher spiritual evolution and not humans still living in their 3D experience and lower vibrational emotions.
Now, your dog, let's how did your dog's journey end on this world? Was it peaceful or let's visit that?
He lived like 17 years, I swear, just to spite my mom.
Oh, really? Ask him. Was that despite your mom, or why?
No, he said his job here was to help ground a frequency, so that's why he was here for a long time. Um, and he was here to teach my mom how to be more compassionate. And I do feel like she learned that towards the end of his life after he passed.
When he passed on and did his life review, did he feel like he did the job he came to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the moment that he passed and he made it to the other side, well, I want to say that exact moment, but as soon as I started meditating and was able to connect in, he was the first being that came to me in my spiritual
Mm,
awakening.
that's so cool.
Yeah, I love it.
And is he still in the earthly realm or is he moving on to do other things? Or I know he's your guide. I just want to know what kind of happened after he left this earth.
They're showing me his his death. So he was very old and he started getting, I don't know if you consider it like dementia or Alzheimer's for a dog, but he couldn't remember where he was at anymore. And he would just like walk in circles to the left. And then he finally, we found out he had a brain tumor and had to be put down. And he's just telling me it's okay. So I've always felt bad because I was in my addiction and I wasn't there when he died. And my parents didn't even call me to tell me that they put him down. And he's just telling me it's okay.
Do they feel that it's compassion when we euthanize them for medical reasons?
Yeah, and this time he was like, I was ready. Absolutely.
When there's the forgetfulness, even as a dog, is that the soul detaching from the body and the body's just kind of operating, or what happens there?
Do you mean when they come in with the veil of forgetfulness?
No, I'm saying like I've been told dementia in humans is kind of like when the soul is in and out of the body. Um, like when they seem forgetful, it's really that the soul's just like not as present in the body. It's off having another experience. Um, I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if that's the same for dogs.
Yeah, that's interesting because they're showing me it's almost like he's just hovering above the body, like ready to leave. That he wasn't even in that body anymore.
Yeah. Um, but the body's just kind of like operating off of all the unconscious systems.
Yeah. And they're saying that animals specifically, when they get to that point where they're so sick, but it's the humans that are still holding on, it's almost like their soul just kind of gets stuck in the in between of like they're ready to go. It's okay to put them down, but we still hold on to them here. And the soul's not even in the body anymore.
I think that's so helpful for us to understand and know because it's a hard decision. Like you want them to know that they're loved, but you don't want to falsely push them to the other side by euthanizing them. So it's good to know that it's okay and that there can be peace in that. Now,
Yeah,
why do animals, when they naturally pass, go and hide by themselves? Because I feel like humans, it's somewhat of a social thing, but animals seem to want to go on their own. Why do they do that?
animals are deeply connected to their soul contracts. That's what they're saying. It has something to do, so they had come in with a 2D awareness. So that means that they're not able to just like, they don't have the 3D awareness, which means that they don't have the awareness of their thoughts, their actions. They just are. And so part of that 2D awareness, though, is being in the present moment of your soul contract, your purpose there. And when it's almost like when specific events happen, they just know that that's what they're there and meant to do. That's really interesting.
Hmm. So they're not aware that of their thought form.
Yeah, so they're not aware. They don't have like that self-awareness that we have, but they're saying they're fully aware of their purpose here.
Because there's always that question is what separates man from animal? And I'm like, that always is a great question, and I don't think it's what people think, like this primitive, it's like, no, we have that primitiveness too. Like, but yeah, like are we are aware of our thought forms. And so therefore there's responsibility in our choice.
Yeah, exactly. We can step back and be the observer to our thoughts, to our actions. We control how we react. That's why it's so important that we raise animals with love and compassion. And that's also, I joke with my boyfriend all the time that you always see those dogs that look and act just like their owners. And that is because they've been raised by their owners. So they've grown up watching all of their personality traits, their actions, and they become that person literally.
Yeah, my dad's dog, Penny, she's codependent on him, and it is ridiculous. And I'm like, that poor dog needs him just as much as he needs her.
Yeah,
Like their
absolutely.
codependency is real. Oh, that's so, so great to hear about just, I think the peace that it'll bring people in just hearing this message. Now, did your mom have a connection with your dog, or like was that the main purpose for, I mean, I know to support you as well, but like is your dog a guide for her as well? Like that he would come in and help her with that lesson?
He said yes.
Anyone else in your family?
My grandma,
Aw.
that he was there for my grandma when she was lonely because he used to spend a lot of time with my grandma too.
That's really, really sweet. Now,
My grandma used to take him to walk the cross. So she did the crossing guard when I was in elementary school, and she would put my Yorkie in this cute little vest.
oh,
She would go and do the crossing guard with him.
that's so cute. He lived a pretty great 17 years. Was it 17?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had an interesting life for sure.
Oh, I mean, he had experiences, what I mean by great. Like, you don't want to
Yeah,
come here and not
absolutely.
experience anything, in your existence. So, I mean, he got to experience highs, lows in between.
Absolutely.
Do our animals tend to reincarnate with us in our lifetimes, or do they only come for the lifetimes that they're needed?
Especially for this lifetime, just because we're going through so much in one lifetime. A lot of the animals that we choose to be with here are deeply connected to us and are most likely a part of our soul family. So it might not always be like that, but for the most part, for this specific time on earth, we have connections to our pets because we knew that we were going to be going through so much, and our pets are one of the best support systems that we have.
So there's a very interesting time where a lot of people have like noticed that the big exit of a lot of our loved ones. I personally tend to always be there when those occur for my pets, and I tend to be there when they're passing, as if it's like I can help them on the other side or something. I'm always there. Why are our pets leaving right now and passing on to the other side?
Because they've been here why we went through the hardest part of our human experience through the veil of forgetfulness. So they're showing me in particular. My dog was with me through addiction, through my hardest times in high school, when I truly didn't understand what was happening to me, he was there. But then he passed away right as my addiction was ending. So it was like he was there to hold my hand through the part of the human experience that I didn't understand. And a lot of our pets have been here to support us through the hardest parts of the veil of forgetfulness. And then when we wake up, that's when new pets come into our life, or like pets that can help us guide us more on the spiritual path. Or yeah, I think that's it. So like then maybe a new pet will come in that is meant to guide us more on the spiritual path that we're also connected to.
When we're there with pets, do we help them cross over?
It depends. So they're saying that for you specifically, it is good for you to be there, but you also understand to let go. Like you understand that this pet is crossing over to the other side and you're okay with that. It hurts, but you're okay with it. There are other people that hold on to their pets that are afraid to let go. And those people, it might not be as good for them to be there when their pets pass. And they're saying this is actually why a lot of pets go off on their own to die, is because they want a clear path home to the other side. And if your family is there and you're just pulling onto them and not letting them go, it will actually pull them back into this realm. And that's when you get souls that haven't crossed over to the other side. But they're saying for you specifically, you have been a guide for souls in the past and you just understand it. So you don't create this magnetism of pulling the soul back in.
That's so interesting because there's something innately that when something passes, you say, go be free. And why the need to say something of like that, like to reassure their soul, right? But now in saying that, I understand why on a soul level, while you verbalize that, because you just want to acknowledge to them, like, go be free. But it's really interesting. Like every time I've ever been by anything that passed, whether it was my pet, a bird, anything, even a human being, it's like that just innate to say, go be free.
Yeah, that is
You're,
deeply helping the soul cross over.
yeah, I think that's really cool to understand. Now, I had wanted to originally call in my horse Blue, that just I absolutely love, but I don't want to disturb him in his life. So I just want to ask if it's not in disturbance of what he is currently doing, if Blue wants to come forward. Um, he's a beautiful horse, and with any messages.
He feels so loving. It's beautiful.
Yeah, he's very grand. Was Blue, I had another horse, Sparky, that I had a lot of the same connection with when I was a younger girl. Was Blue a version of Sparky, or were they two different entities?
I heard Sparky was a version of you.
Interesting.
So I think they were different.
Okay. Now, did Blue feel like I honored him in his life and treated him the way that he wanted to be treated and gave him the experience that he wanted during this life?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just
Did
hear him. He like I love he like shook his head, yes.
you would do that actually?
Really?
Uh-huh. Especially if I was bringing grain to him, he'd shake his head yes at me as I was walking. Like, yep, knew what
Yeah,
I
I saw him
wanted.
like
Yep.
shake his head.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, what were we contracted to have that time together?
he said yes, of course, and that he
And
was here to show you how to love something unconditionally outside of yourself.
well, it's very interesting. Is he part of the Octurian Collective? Because his name is Blue Smoke.
Yes, but he's also connected to the Syrians.
Interesting. All right.
Deeply connected to your son too. Did your son ever meet him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's deeply connected to your son.
And can he give just elaborate a little bit more on that?
I actually think he's more connected to your son than to you. Like I feel a really deep Syrian connection that he's a part of your son's Syrian soul family.
I mean, my son did love Blue.
Yeah, and like, I do feel like you're very connected to Blue as well, that you've been an Octurian with him. And Blue is just saying that he didn't really want the human experience. He wasn't really interested in it. That he actually enjoys being more or being incarnated as an animal.
Now, how Blue left this world was we had evacuated from fires and got him to safety. And when I brought him back home, I put out shavings and he loved to roll in shavings. And he rolled and rolled, so excited to be home. And then he twisted his gut and colicked. And it was a pretty hard 24 hours with him in pain before we put him down. Was that a part of his life contract, was to end in that way?
Yes, he said his time was over, that was as long as he wished the experience to be because he's not used to the vibrations of Earth made him a little uncomfortable. It was really just the times of love where he was so happy and he was really here to help you and your family.
Does he know how loved he was?
Absolutely. It's almost like he's showing me that like the vibrations made him really uncomfortable, but like the moments that you were there sending him love, it made everything okay.
Yeah. Um, I think he was just like giving me a big old hug when I teared up. So,
Yeah, I feel a
um,
lot of love.
yeah. Um, you know, and what is he doing now? Scarlett actually kept seeing him after he passed, kept seeing him on the property. He would show himself only to her, and I'm very interested as why that was.
He was he was there, but at the same time, your daughter is just very gifted. And so it was a part of her understanding her gifts. And it's almost like the breadcrumbs to stepping into her spiritual abilities. So it's like when we do sessions with clients, I always ask, is there anything that happened to you when you were younger where you just knew there had to be more to this life? And he was showing himself to her to show her that there's so much more to this life than we've been taught. Because I have this feeling that like maybe she didn't get as much time with him as you and your son, or they just weren't as close. But he had these contracts with her after to remind her that there's so much more to this world.
Ugh, I love these beings that love us so much. I mean, yeah, because that wouldn't scare her as much if she saw it as comfortable as the horse that she knew showing itself in the afterlife versus, a galactic being coming and showing itself to her. That would be very, very scary.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful. Um, just what he's doing now. What are you up to, Blue? What are you doing? Are you guide or are you? I always said you were going to be this beautiful Pegasus that I get to ride eventually one day in the sky, but maybe that's not who you are.
He's still one of your guides now that you can always reach out to him. He has an Octurian version of himself on your spaceship, and you guys are still working together.
That's so cool.
He didn't really enjoy the energies of Earth very much, so he hasn't came back here. He prefers it to be a guide and watch over your family.
I love that. I know you are grumpy sometimes. Well, thank you, Blue, for coming through and just um, reminding us that this journey is full of the highs and lows. But man, when there's love, it's beautiful.